Hello and welcome to the Knitting Traditions podcast. Today is a special episode where I'm going to talk about the plans for knitting for the upcoming year, or very loose plans at least. I have a busy time coming up and I figured what better than to go through my stash that I already have and pick out some quantities for different garments that I have been thinking I want to knit that maybe now is the time to get around to. Very loose plans, no commitment right here, but they are ready to go if I so do decide. So if you want to see which yarns and patterns I have been thinking about, then watch this space right now. I'm going to first talk about garments that I have been thinking of making for myself, then some little acquisition plans, and then some things for my daughter at the very end. So, first thing that I want to get around to, maybe, I'm between two, is a big quantity of fivel that I have in my knitting swan bag that I use as a purse. In here I have 14 balls of this very black yarn. This is fivel from Rauma. I love this yarn. I love the garments that I've knit in this yarn, and I have this big stash quantity to make an oversized turtleneck garment from this Rauma magazine. And the sweater that I want to make is the Annie Raglan, which is actually a photo of on the back. I made the genser in the past with modifications that made it look like the Annie. There's also this really pretty cabled cardigan in here, but let's not digress. I wanted to make the Annie, which calls for a lot of yarn. Let's see if I can find a photo of it, because it has a turtleneck and then it has a very long split hem. It's quite oversized and very cozy looking. I think the little details that you can see running down the raglan on the side is going to disappear in this black yarn. So I might just omit those and do a plain one. We shall see. But I have the yarn ready for this. I have the book ready for this. I'm not super excited about knitting with black yarn because it is a bit hard on the eyes, especially in the darker seasons now. I will cast this on because I want to have this garment in my wardrobe. I don't have any black sweaters that I've knit for myself, and I feel like that is something that might be missing in my wardrobe for something basic, like a throw-on piece. So, oh, a little bird. That is something that I do want to get around to, and the days are getting lighter, so that does help. And it's not something that I want to be working on in the summer because it is a garment that is for fall, winter, and spring here. So need to get around to that, want to get around to that, should get around to that, but I also have another one. This one doesn't take up as much space in my stash. It's just 3 balls of yarn, but it's 3 big balls of yarn. And this is the Fisherman's Wool, which is 100% wool. I bought this in Tallinn. I have 3 of them. They are 425 meters each. Each ball is 227 grams. And yeah, I'm hoping I have enough yarn in here to make something for myself garment wise. I do think I need to have a look at that. I have written down that I have 1,275 meters of this, and the recommended stitch gauge is 16 stitches. The Versal that I've knit before is one contender. That one has a gauge of 18 stitches. There's also a free pattern from Tanis Garn, which is called Raglan genser, which just means raglan sweater. That one is a 16 stitch gauge. I also have a book of Harry Potter knits, and the Harry Potter sweater, the one that Ron gets for Christmas with the letter, that one has a 15 stitch gauge. So if I'm low on yarn, maybe a looser gauge will get me further. So that's a contender. And then I've also been looking at the zipper sweater from Petite Knit. I think that would look very nice. And this kind of marled yarn, this is the color 200. But I don't know if I would have enough yarn for that. So I think I have to look at these patterns for the size that I would want and see if I can even make any of them. I don't really want to get more yarn, but I do want this to be a plain sweater for me. And I don't want it to be a fitted sweater. I want it to be a few centimeters of positive ease at least. So this is one of the things that I would like to cast on soon, but it needs a little bit more research before I can do so. And this is a tote bag that I bought when I was in Lisbon, me and Matthias, at the Rosa Pomar, I believe we went to. Yeah, Rosa Pomar. And then I have this little thing that I bought in Helsinki. It's not little, it's quite a bit of yarn in here. It's a mix of the Tuku wool DK and the Tuku wool fingering in the color Havu or H35. It's the same color for each base. And this is going to become the Book Club cardigan by Sari Nordland with some lovely buttons, wood buttons I have found already. I'm gonna knit the size 4, which is 125 centimeter bust. I think that's what's gonna fit me best. Again, I'm gonna have a closer look to make sure I have enough yarn for that, and I need to do a swatch because this is not the recommended yarn. I'm combining one DK with one fingering instead of a worsted with a silk mohair, so I need to play around with the needle sizes to make sure I get gauge. And yeah, but I'm very excited for this. This is something I want, and I just, you know, finished another cardigan of my needles, so now I have the Peated Whiskey is still on my needles. I need to decide if I want to finish that first before casting on this or not. So again, decision paralysis will be affecting the outcome of my plans this year, but I have it ready there. Just need to figure out what to do. Another thing that I have here is some yarn that I bought at my local yarn store when it closed down. It's the Sandnesgarn Tweed Recycled, and I'm gonna grab a ball. Sorry for the noise. I have 10 balls of this, and it's this beautiful tweedy red wine kind of color, Merlot. It's 175 meters to 50 grams, so that's approximately the same as Finul from Rauma. This is 80% extra fine wool and then 20% cashmere. Now, normally this yarn is considered more high-end when it comes to Norwegian mill yarn because of the cashmere content, but at 50% off, it was quite a good bargain, and I have, like I said, 10 balls of this. And I wanted to make the Harry Potter sweater because I saw this color and I thought, that is this. I need this. But the gauge is wrong because the Harry Potter sweater is supposed to be a 15 stitch gauge, and that pattern is by Marta Schmarta, and this has a recommended gauge of 21 stitches, so I don't think I could play around with gauge by going up such a big needle size to get that gauge with this. It's not gonna look how I want. So if I were to do that pattern, I would need to pair this with another yarn like a silk mohair or something, or hold it double, but I wouldn't have enough yarn for that, and I don't want to hold it with something else. So instead, I'm going to do a different pattern that has a similar look to the pattern in the book, and then just add the letter afterwards. And The sweater I'm thinking about that might just be the most similar to the Harry Potter sweater, which I already have, is the Stockholm sweater by Petite Knit. I think that might work. It has a 21 stitch gauge, so I think that's good. I could also do the Forager by Melody Hoffman, that's 20 stitches. But I think the Stockholm in size medium might be the closest one. So it might be that one that I go for. I am feeling like this might be a project for the fall. Now, knowing myself planning that far ahead, we shall see. But I think it's a good fall knit. A tweedy Merlot color would be really good for fall. And then I want to do another Versal. I know I'm boring knitting the same things, but I love that sweater. And the yarn that I have, I already planned when I was at the K2P2 festival. And it's the Shapjesvoll by Tricker Vissel in the marzipan color. And this is 200 meters to 100 grams. It's considered a worsted. I think it's going to be perfect for the Versal, and I'm going to probably do a boxy version turtleneck in this yarn. And then I have this bag of undecidedness. I want to knit the Heirloom quilt blanket, no, Heirloom quilt cardigan. And I have some DK skeins that I bought in Amsterdam and Breda for this. I need to find some neutrals and then land on my final color palette. But I have Tandem from Stephen and Penelope. And then I have this beautiful squirrel colorway from Atelier Het Woolbest. This is their 100% wool, their Eco 4-ply, but I think it could work. And I have the Finnish Vuonna Tilta recycled wool yarn, which is 70% Finnish wool, 30% recycled wool. I have the, this is the same base, just a different color. Then I have this color as well. And this is Dark Omen yarn, which I got at Stephen and Penelope. The Merino Classic. It's 300 meters per 100 grams. The color is Vasago. Oh, the sun is coming in. Might change the colorways a bit. This is also from Atelier Het Woolbest in the color Hues of Ochre. Love this color. And the last one that I have is also the Finnish recycled. So I have a nice little earthy palette right here, but need some neutrals and need to land on a final color palette, and then probably again kind of a fall piece right here. Going into spring now, I might want to knit on something more colorful if I know myself, but yeah, haven't quite decided. I also have December 2025 somewhat planned. I bought some red yarns when my local yarn store was, well, closing down, and I bought some very red fennel and some very red silk mohair. Put it on the floor. So we have these two colors right here. The fennel is the color 418, and the Sun is Garntin silk mohair is the color 4018. And I think they are gonna pair beautifully together. Now I have this sweater in my stash, which is called the Abydos sweater by Lily Kate France. So this is a very good contender for that. I think that would be a lovely Christmas sweater. Or I've seen a design which I think is from a Japanese designer. I don't have that pattern in my pattern library, so I'll have to look it up. But it's an all over cable textured sweater, which I think would also look really nice in this kind of bright red. And that is something that I could see myself wearing all year around. So I have to make another decision. As you see, very loose plans, but it would be fun to make it happen. Transitioning into accessories, I bought this yarn in Finland, and I'm thinking of making the Gro hat by Fiber Tales in this one. It's a thicker yarn than recommended, but I think that's what I need because the recommended yarn thickness turned out a little bit small, but I also didn't swatch. So I think if I use the same needle size but thicker yarn, it would be perfect. I also have this Rauma Puno and a Rauma Plum, which I want to make a balaclava for Nelly, I think. I want to make a hat for myself in Tweed Supreme by Mayo. It's the color chestnut. I have 2 balls of this. It's a beautiful 100% wool tweed yarn. And I want to make myself a hat, maybe a textured hat, to be decided. I have 3 balls of Sunday and 3 balls of Sandnes Garn Tin Silk Mohair in this beautiful 4054 colorway. And I want to make the Amy slipover in this. And then I have 2 balls of this beautiful Riccioletta Boucle yarn from Jennifer Knits LA. I have 2 balls left, and I want to make myself a little neck piece, maybe something along the lines of like the Sophie scarf style, but I have another pattern for this kind of thicker yarn that I think would be perfect. So that's my little accessory plans for the year. We shall see. I have other stash yarns that might become accessories as well, but I grabbed these as like an initial little goodie bag of inspiration. And then I packed a little bag for Nelly. I'm gonna do this one. This is a pattern from Petite Knit called the Storm Sweater. I'm gonna do the size 3 to 4 year old probably because I have enough yarn for that size, and she has quite a bit of sweaters for 1 to 2 year old right now. So I think I will do that. This should be the color 5012, a very nice cute lilac color which suits her. And then I am planning on knitting the Biskrem sweater mini by Nash Knits. I love the look of that sweater. I might also want to do an adult version. I had some mill ends of Sunday in this nice white, and then 3 balls of the 2564, which were also off ends at the mill. And I'm going to use those 2 to make that sweater. I'm very excited for that. That might be one of the earlier knits that I will do. And then I want to knit like a onesie or a full body suit with a zipper. The pattern that I have in mind is the Raunionset onesie by Suvi Littikainen. Sorry about the pronunciation. That one uses a DK weight yarn, 233 meters per 100 gram at 21 stitch gauge. Now I have Dalagarn Soft Merino, which is 187 meters to 50 grams, and I have 10 balls of it. So thinking if I pair it with a silk mohair, that will probably get me the gauge that I'm looking for. I don't really want to open this until I'm using it, but it's this very nice green that's probably not showing up the best. It's the color 3020, and I have 2 or 3 different yarns of silk mohair in my stash in a very similar green tone, and I need to decide which one of these 3 to go for. So I have the Tilia, which is more of a cool bottle green, in the color 347, Then I have the Isair in the color 37. I'm leaning towards this one. It's more of a warm green, more similar to the merino. And then I have some Angel by Permin in the color 884170. Again, more of a bottle green. It's quite similar to the Telia, but it's less shiny, less vibrant, more fuzzy. So that is a plan that needs a bit of swatching as well. And then I have plans of making another one of the genser for children, but in a larger size. I have the size 4 planned, with the green being the base color in Fivel color 24, and then the colorwork being in this Fivel 4078 colorway. I think that's going to be very nice. And use up the last of those colorways that I have in Fivel in my stash. And then I have a little basket of sock yarn if I feel the calling. Socks are great gifts. I love knitting them for people. I love giving it. The process of knitting it when it's for someone else, or knitting socks where I have to make 2, is not my favorite, but I will do it. And I have enough left of this beautiful, I think it was Golden Fern was the name of this Rambler colorway from the Woolly Thistle. That's going to be a pair of socks. I bought this in Amsterdam, Schroppelwolle ELB Lino, which is a wool linen blend. 85% wool, 15% linen. That's going to be a beautiful pair of socks. I'm thinking of maybe making my rustic cable socks in this. I think it would be very pretty, and I need more of the fit of that sock because it fits my foot really well. And at some point the one I have is going to wear thin, so I need to make more of it. And then this yarn I also got at the K2P2 festival. Love the colorway. This is also a linen blend for a sock. It's 67% wool and 23% nylon and 10% linen. So those 3 balls of yarn are in here ready to become some socks at some point. Or maybe some other sock yarn will become socks. We shall see. But those are some very loose plans that I have for this year, and we'll see how many I get around to, and maybe none of them, maybe all of them, probably not all of them. But it's going to be nice to knit through some of my stash yarn, and I definitely have more stash to get around to, so watch this space for future content. And I hope you're well. I hope you're making all the things that make you happy, and I will talk to you soon. Bye.